Hi guys, Greta says hello. So I'm going to do a marker rendering of this guy here. So I have this figure here. I traced them one more time, so he's more distinguished, and then I copied this. So this is a copy. This is not a pencil drawing, instead it's a copy, so the pencil doesn't come off. The copy ink doesn't come off with my finger, so it stays put on the paper. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a number of markers. Before I begin rendering, so these are my markers. They're called Prismacolor markers. They're dual tip markers. They look like this. So this is wider side, and it's a brush tip, and this is a narrow side. It's more like a defined thin line. So what I did, I picked out of the mass of my markers. This is about how much I have altogether for now. So I picked all the green ones that pertain to this color neighborhood. So I have dark olive green, I have forest green, I have light olive green, and also because it gets really dark in a pan, what you do, these are very bright, so this is what I'm doing as I'm going. So this, I'm testing them right away on like if this is your finish, you don't want to test on the same paper, but you want to test it on the same kind of paper that you're going to work on. So as I'm testing it, also I need to see how bleedy those markers are or how dry they are. And also you want to test your paper and see how they bleed on the other side, and to make sure you have something underneath. So I have just extra paper underneath, so I don't ruin whatever is underneath, right, with the bleeding markers. So also I have my True and Loyal buff from AD, the smelly one, old friend, and then I have this terracotta Faber-Castell. It's a soft pencil, but this is the color I need to warm up his skin and draw some lips. Also he has this little trim that is, I decided it's going to be this color, brown sienna. So I'm gonna use thin tip for that to draw that out. And also I have the sepia to be this darker layer underneath the green, as to show the pants, right? So I'm going to play with that, and then if my color matching fails at the end of this, there is still, you could run and get like some pencil that will augment the color. So I have natural daylight. It's rather bright out, so what I'm going to do here, I have to kind of struggle because I have to open them with one hand. So the face, right? So here's the face. I have my chisel marker that is buff, and what I'm going to do is to hit his face really like twice, maybe, or 3 times, I don't know, very quickly. 1, 2, I usually leave like a little blaze in the middle, and that's it. That's all I'm going to do for the face. And then hands. See, I'm not really like fussing too much for the edge. If it smudges or goes over the edge or leaves a bit of a white blaze, I kind of go with that because it gives it a little more dimension. And so right now I'm taking this is rather dull. The tip of the pencil is dull, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to warm up while it's still wet and drying. I'm going to warm up his face a little bit and try to cover those gray areas that resulted from pencil marks, right? So I'm going to color in the lips, leaving a little blob of white on the bottom lip because that's where the light will hit it. The top lip, under most of scenarios, is in the shadow, so it's going to be dark. And then there is this shadow underneath his nose, which is I'm also covering with this terracotta color. And then continuing on, so one side is more colored in than the other, and also I'm going to go over that black line, so it's no longer black but sort of this reddish terracotta color, and underneath the chin there is generally a shadow, and this side will have a little more color than the other. And I could leave it there. I normally don't fuss around the eyes too much. See, what I want it to be perceived is that it's a guy, that he has a wide jaw. So that's kind of defined. So his jaw is very square and wide. And then I'm going to warm up the hands a little bit. Just a touch, and maybe run the fingers a little. And this surface where the fingers turn in will be in the dark. And maybe a little shadow right underneath the sleeve. And I'm also going to leave it like that. And same thing here. A little bit of warmth where the blackness exists, and again, that surface underneath where fingers are. I don't know if it makes sense to you, but here, this is it for skin. I'm gonna leave it there. Then I'm going to do, my computer fell asleep. So then I'm going to, let's say, I'm going to try doing this jacket. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick light olive, wider tip. It's not chisel, I wish it was really, but it's this color, it's this olive color, so it's light olive. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave a few, see how there's white shiny things, so I'm going to try to leave blazes and white spots on it to come back to them later. So there is a little bit of white everywhere, so I'm just leaving them blank. There's a lot over here, and they kind of like spread out. So I made this little bit of a movement. See how they have a little, they have direction. They're pointing towards that placket. So I'm mimicking that here. And then here's the placket. And the pocket. And the pocket and the rest of his body are fairly flat color. They get dark towards the underarm, and that I'm going to address with a darker marker. So here there's also a little bit of sheen that I'm gonna leave. And you see already there is something to that effect. And here, if you look, there are lines that point toward the elbow, and they're white. Some of them are white, and I go kind of along see? So then I'm gonna try put some more solid along the edge. And voila. The other side likewise. So there's a little bit of a crease over there. Then there's a shine, I'm sorry, right around here and here. And there's big one right here on the pocket, smaller ones there. And then something that points toward the buttons. And a little bit here, and then more solid things. And on the sleeve also, I'm gonna go around those more dramatic bits, and then I'm gonna go and color this a little bit more flat. Leaving the white areas. So preserving the principle, but remain also haphazardness of my movement. So I'm not sweating each and every little thing. I'm kind of like moving along. And note that I'm leaving a little bit of white around the pocket, so you could see that style line of the pocket. And the placket. See, I'm staying within the shape, but and leaving some white space. And you could go back and eliminate some of the whiteness if you feel it's too much. So there, representation, layer 1, right? So this becomes darker towards the so this is layer 1. Then I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to color over those brown details. So I'm going to go and color the brown details. 1, 2. Then there is a piping around the pocket. Okay, and then I'm going to take a darker olive marker. Where is it? Was it? This was light olive. Where is the dark olive? They say this is. So dark olive looks like this. The other looks slightly more vivid green than, but okay, so I'm gonna shade it. So the darkest spots are in here in between the sleeves and the body, behind his neck. See, I'm still moving with the idea of a jacket. giving it depth, a bit of 3D effect. So the lighter part comes out in the middle of the shape and the darker part moves away from us, so it becomes darker. I'm trying not to obliterate the little details. Trying to return to them and kind of bring them back. I'm going to say this was good for layer 2. Became a bit mess here, but that's okay. Then, then I'm going to use that same marker, the darker olive, and I'm going to, let's say, go over his shirt. It's matte color, so there's nothing shiny there. And for sweater, I'm just gonna solid one layer. And for the pants, I'm going to do the sepia, this color. I'm just gonna go over once, leaving that crease, and minding the seams and details. So darkest dark will become solid dark, but I'm trying to leave a little bit of a little air. Also moving with my shapes that I made with the pencil. Because it's kind of like a painting, you know, you're not just filling in the color, but you're also restoring the shapes so they make more sense. And I'm trying to float off the lines. So not on the line, but right. So I'm kind of trying to zoom out and see if the shapes make sense. So maybe this line is too strong. I'm gonna soften it, and this line is too wide. I'm gonna also break it up a little bit. That looks like pants, because it should, but that's what we want. Okay, and then I'm going to go over the sweater. I think I'm going to choose the skinny side, and I'm going to go over this detail on the sweater. So there is a rib that goes along the neck, so I'm going to draw it in, rib and rib. Right, already looks like a little sweater in there. And then there is this cable texture there. So there's darkness here, and there's this cable texture. I'm just gonna go and make that texture right there. like that. And I'm gonna put a little darkness there. So the pants are not quite brown, they have a little, they are gray in there, so I'm gonna go back to my light olive, a wide tip, the brush pen, and I'm gonna go and layer the green over. I'm going over the strokes, so trying to make very similar, if not the same movements. And you could eliminate the blaze at this point, and so that way it sort of will shine green, because you're putting directly green over the white, so wherever you left white blaze, it will become brighter green with the shadowing of the brown, setting it back. Right, so there, that's that. Oh, sunshine. That's that, and then for his hair, I could do again a little sienna, because it's softer. It's dark, and I'm gonna do black pencil over it. Like that, and shift that bit stuck out. I also have black Prismacolor pencil here. I'm going to make his hair darker. Black pencil. You could also accentuate and come back to this sweater texture with the pencil. For more definition and control. You could also put back the lines with the black pencil. You could also do a texture on the pants with the side of the pencil and the sweater, so it gives you that. This is also fantastic for making black stockings on a nude leg. It works very good. And the pants, texture on the flannel. If you have a heathery flannelly texture, this works. And then you could put back the lines and even more shading with the black pencil. You could reinforce the line with the black pencil afterwards. I'm gonna put the line back in. Where it was before. Also additional shading. There he is in the shoes. Probably that sepia or black. Black is not good to start with unless you're drawing something black. So I'm going to do sepia for the inside part of that shoe and the sole. And then there is a dark, what is it? Light olive green. So I'm going to do light olive green for the shoes. Can darken the inside part and redefine the sole of the shoe. And then you could also sharpen this. I'm not going to sharpen it, but draw the fingers back in. All right, and so here we have that guy. You could keep going, but for practical purposes, this is where how detailed and how elaborate it should be. It's an impression. So don't be frightened and don't sweat it. It's good. Bye.